Okay. Yes, also.
Там тоже... Ну, в Бельгии тоже я все-таки смотрю. Вот здесь спокойно, да. Реально важно, но реально. Короче, все начало. Все еще. Первый раз видела, честно, сказал, что обалденно. Мы там вот так будем. 你的指甲。想跟我要吗？现在说我的猫里。
要告诉哪里开的？I heard that the tea gonna be ready.
Okay, one last thing. Last point, my part exhibition, I forgot to do it, but this is best makes a list of all the people who helped me with it. I'm going to do it as example. And please get to know it, because it's a lot of people. Okay. So, thanks for showing up. A lot of people, I have zero idea what to say. I feel like I'm gonna like try one more at the same time. So, I didn't plan this at all. I was like, what's going on? Because it took forever for me to make this project. And I guess I was holding on to emotions in the last moment. And that was weird. Doesn't seem like a good time, but okay. Yeah. Let's take a break. Thank you. Need to kind of dramatically start the thing, so it's stay in mind. So it all started from the moment when I realized that I would have a life to arts and graphic design. And somehow I continue to do this for around 10 years now. But at some point I realized that the graphic design is this solution. Because people are moving pixels like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for big corporations and getting some money to pay the bills, but all the designers are somehow dreamers. We started this profession because we believe in some roots that visual aesthetics give to people, and yeah, and in the end we just make same banners for some corporation. And I realized, okay, I'm having a crisis of my designated field of study and life and development, and what now? My first reaction to this crisis was to create a project about German bureaucracy and German universities and like deal with the institutions themselves that are involving themselves in the study, teaching, showing design. And I guess most of you are familiar with this project and don't know much about it. And afterwards, I shifted my attention on something else. This whole project is called Homecoming, but the name of the project arose just in the last half a year of me making it and writing about it, being excited for the topic. My initial inspiration was just to design purposes, because the accessibility of smaller cultures, their languages, their scripts are very limited. And unless a bigger governmental institution steps in and starts to bring some norms, this basically I came in this village called Kinalik, very small village. My grandfather's from there. We just traveled there with my dad, and I walked around in the museums, and I suddenly saw that they have this alphabet for kids, and there are some letters that are not inside the Latin alphabet, and they don't have a specific lip for it. And people will just attach the lip in like paint, so you can see like a letter T, and it has like a little dot, but the dot is a little bit like wrong because someone just did it, someone took care, but they didn't have it here. And then I realized, okay, this is a good thing to do. I would take my practice and I would start making something related to the graphic design, type design, accessibility, and I would tie it to like a meaningful topic of preservation of heritage, and I will involve myself into that. And so it went like this. My two main focuses in the beginning were archaeological findings and preserving them from a big museum, from a big white cube that will put it, take it away to British Museum or whatever under the glass and say, okay, like a found object, dated 5th century BC, and that's it. The museums I saw in the village, they were just someone's home, like you come by in the living room and they give you tea, and at the same time you can see that on the wall there's like a big display and they show you all sorts of things. And they don't even entirely know what that is. They would say, okay, this is like a meteorite. And maybe it's just a cute rock, it doesn't really matter. they just have stories, and they're welcoming you. They don't want anything from you. There's like no interest. You can touch everything, and they display the things that were found on this land in the museum. I feel like, okay, this village is gaining popularity, it's included in UNESCO, so the big corporations or whoever will come, they will build hotels, they will build museums, they will put things under the glass, and maybe they will take it away from the place. That was the first motivation. The second motivation, as I already described, was seeing someone using paint to attach the glyphs to language and like to write a sentence to send it to a friend, or like imagine you just like have a script and you can't even like use it digitally because the script is so new, it's just 10 years old. Yeah, so I thought these two things, and slowly I involved myself in the process. Throughout time of development of the project, I realized that there's more to this than just mere design involvement, but there's also some connection with the roots, the topics of migration, in my case, double migration, and understanding how 3 generations ago, like, my family would be like up the mountains and only evidence of them being alive would be the imperial census. And now we're sitting here in like an exhibition space that can provide like all sorts of setup and spotlights, and I talk to you about it. And I was trying to reflect what's in my head, and slowly it's I digested and slowly I reached to the point of making this exhibition. This is not the ending point, but yeah. So in this exhibition you can find 5 groups. All 5 are different topics. The topic of description of the village itself. The second topic is archaeological findings. The third one is language. The fourth one is the forgotten archive of a person who tragically died and left nothing but the notes that couldn't be translated, so we're in the archive. And the first is my own reflection on this project over there. Yeah, I don't want to make this introduction too long and more sloppy than it is, because I'm still very deep in this project, and while I slowly die out and make it as my conclusion, you can walk around eventually and show some things in this place. I would like to invite my friend and supervisor, Lisha. I don't know where you are. Yes, and I hope you also this book. And I can also pass a second copy of the book around to people, so you understand what we're talking about. Yeah. Please sit down. Let's discuss. I don't want to be too dogmatic. I'm against reading this. I'm between this whole yeah. That's very important. This is perfect actually. It's laying in my home usually. So
take care of.
Yes. Okay. So
Thank you very much for inviting me. And I think it's a great moment because I could witness not the whole process of the research, only part of it, of course, because I came to know you while like past the point when you started. And I feel that today, so many different ways of trying to know, and also different ways to present the knowledge to acquire, kind of gathering together. So, today,
thank you. My pleasure to join. It was really the most helpful thing.
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to, we happen to share one language, and we also happen actually to share a certain kind of a cultural background because you grew up in Moscow, right? I grew up in Voronezh, which is like 600 kilometers from Moscow, but it is the kind of, how to say, it is a similar cultural space, I would say, right? It's a central kind of it's a Russia which is still in its culture nervous to the more like an imperial space, or yeah, which is perhaps like inherits different modes of knowing which the Soviet Union also developed. And one of those modes of knowing, which we might share, is called creativity, which is like from Russian translates something like knowledge, regional studies, like regional studies. And I wanted to kind of, especially when drawing on this book, I wanted to kind of probe a little bit how your research might resonate with this approach and where it differs from it, like where it challenges it. Yeah. So, and you know, like this idea of creating, yeah, it's first and foremost, when we look at it in the 19th century, early 17th, it was something which would go against the academic knowledge. It would be something which based itself within the different regions of the former Russian Empire, and the literary classes would be more curious about the history of the place, would venture into collecting the stories, collecting the artifacts, recording the histories which were not recorded before, but maybe were only passed forward. But the whole point was that it is something which goes against the academic mode of knowledge production. It cuts against the academia as the closed environment. And I think, like, do you position yourself somehow vis-a-vis this in your research?
That's somehow hard to answer because this topic was like, when I was studying in school, it was like the leftovers of like the post-Soviet Union, and like this knowledge of the region was very big presence in like Moscow being like the empire capital, and we always were very reluctant towards learning it. The teachers were like most relaxed, like geography and the same things. However, now that you mention it, I don't know, because my research took so many turns. I started solely as a designer, then a human, then a designer again, then like a researcher, translator, that also, and then project manager, big time, I had to coordinate the work of like student people involved in this project. But now that you say it, I like this term. Maybe it's time to play with somehow. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But like in your work in it's not the work which you carried out by yourself, right?
Exactly.
That was a process of collaboration, not only collaboration with the art professionals,
Yes.
but also with the local people.
Exactly.
So do you think that there is like what is the motivation or what is the process that you observe there? Why don't people preserve the local?
I think if a culture is so small, so to say, that only 200 people living simultaneously carry the same language, living in the same point, and somehow the sense of like company is more present. And before coming to the village, they already had been some attempts by enthusiasts and also like a semi-governmental institution to like gather, preserve knowledge. So my experience there was, it wasn't just out of the blue sky, there had been already some things developing. And first, like, I really gained the trust of my dear collaborators, like residents, researchers as well, and just partners, there's also enthusiasts. And people are, there's these people that have kind of different temporality and also different methods. But their motivation is high because they understand that we are undergoing a big change in globalization and like was being more and more open to the society, because for many hundred years it has been isolated by a steep road, 2,500 meters in the mountains. But nowadays every person can take like a bus or train from capital, like not train, and reach this place in maybe 6 hours. It would be a very dangerous, interesting road, but it could be possible. So the gates are opening, and people are interested in also self-identifying preserving heritage. Also, I think because of this kind of contact of tourists and like seeing like the way tourists operate in this village. Yeah.
So then maybe like my second question is about the methods which people in the village use to collect and preserve the knowledge, and the transition of this great diversity of methods actually doesn't like into your work perhaps, or does the way how the amateur historians, for example, or the people who are an amateur is not in any way negative definition. It's actually, like one can say, a simpler method, right? Everyone is developing their own method. I usually might be called from the position of established field and amateur, but actually someone who establishes a singular method, unique method, right? So does this kind of syncretic methods informing your work as an artist, or is the way how you work as an artist informs also the local methods? Can you a little bit speak about this?
I would like to first describe the methods that exist in the village. I think first and foremost, there are also some sort of like government structure that like vaguely present. So let's say there's like a government museum and people are doing some duties as part of the museum. There's a position of like a museum researcher, but at the same time they're not limited in a particular like framework of working. And the first method I think is like the oral description still prevails. So you won't see what you described. The second thing is that storytelling is about the scientific classification, although there are also people who are not happy with the storytellers and they're trying to be as objective and like critique as possible. And yeah, what else is there? And also, I think many things work kind of on demand. So let's say we develop together with the resident format. For example, I think it's easier for you to describe through the format of this photography. This format was kind of copied from an Indian census of villages that was made in the 1970s. So there was like a censor, which is like a bureaucratic person coming from, let's say, the capital, and they travel around the small places and they write down, okay, these people live here, they do this, they dress like this. This is a very imperial format, but it gives you like a short overview as a photograph. And I got very interested in this format, and I thought what would be like an interesting way to like remake it somehow. And basically it was totally copy of it, but excluding some topics that weren't really acceptable to the state, and also including a lot of contribution from the locals. So, for example, here is transhumans roots, like a section. About these roots, nothing is written on the internet, so I would like request a certain person from the village, an enthusiast, or researcher to write text specifically in this format, and then I would like to say that include here. Yeah, that's maybe I'm not very precise. Yeah.
I think this is kind of, I want to a little bit stay within that point of the kind of creating this method of research, because it has been performed mostly by the people who are not part of academia. The methods used were really like singular and always fitted for the task. So let's say it would be no method which could be disqualified as long as it fulfills the goal, which can be then not criteria in academic research, right? So that's why there is a certain pragmatism in the method. And I think it's very interesting, like if when you pick up the format of the census, which is the tool of the state, right? Census, and especially the Indian census, although it's already performed independence in 61, I think one which
Yeah.
we use. Still, it has a very like a kind of dissective approach, right? It takes the culture and then it like partitions it, you know,
Yeah.
from the point of view of the state.
Yeah, that's a point.
Yeah, and
That's a difference.
like, well, let's say it's full of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, this tool is taken, and if this tool is used from, let's say, ground up perspective,
Yeah.
that's something changed. And what changed acquires, you know, like this is kind of the dialectics of this tool. Because I think there is a change. So can you reflect a little bit on that difference? How do you reappropriate the tool?
Yeah.
And why it works?
For this particular thing, I think it's important to say that not so many people, like academic researchers, come to the village and like write about something except magic. Like it's the most interesting thing for the research that's so distinctive. And so all the information that exists in the internet, mostly predominantly is written already by the residents. So when I work with this information, I already see the categories, and the categories they differ quite a lot from what was here. Because I didn't write, I barely wrote any texts out of this, I would reward them, I would like, you know, quote them, there's like big bibliography at the end, and yeah. So that of course defined it, and it's also interesting to see what groups are writing about themselves. Because in the Wikipedia, they constantly can update and add more stuff, which I think is very cool. And yeah, and then I would like show it to a couple of collaborators, and they would like say, okay, you should write about moons. And one was very, very bold about this moons because how to say, there's this village, but then there's also like this transfigure route where the villagers would go with their sheep. And they would travel like 200 kilometers, come back, and this is also like an old heritage. Yeah, just to somehow cut it down. Yes.
So the point is that the partitioning, or like how is it, the table of contents was created
Based on the information.
based on the request, basically, of the contributors.
Yeah.
Right, so it wasn't an imposition of the board of one-to-one.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So I think that like I have also a few points here, but one is concerning actually the difference between the approaches, descriptive, because yeah, I mean I can just name them and maybe we can open up for questions.
Yeah.
So like I think that the one important difference between academic research and kind of the local regional studies, it's the emphasis. Academic research very often emphasizes the theory, almost to make a generalization, while the regional research has to do with descriptive.
And it's broken up.
You want to write down and you want to relate further, while then to capture the knowledge, produce a theory out of it, to present the theory as the summation of all the knowledge. And I think it's very beautiful to see in the exhibition here how you do not go to the summation point, but really present multiple threads.
Thanks.
And
I can't get rid of any of this. I don't know, I can't work in one medium. I don't think it describes also fully like all the aspects of things somehow. So yeah. That's, I try to like include also like a lot of different points and sometimes it feels like different people are dragging you towards a different point, but I did this thing.
And I think that another thing is also very interesting when you forwarded me the thesis text. You remember what was our conversation at the beginning? I was like, where is the chapter on the literature review?
Yeah, I said I don't want to review. Petra also asked me where is it? Where's the artist method? I said I'm too deep inside this project. Please feel free to grab a bunch there. Yes, please, yes. For supervisors. People review.
Yeah. So you remember that I also had this like, where is the literature? You know, like, and then here the response was, no, this is actually not important. You know?
There is not no literature. I'm sorry. The only quote in the whole project I have at 5 books is Louis Bourgeois artist regarding your sanity, because I was going insane while writing a small text. Like, I wrote the whole text and reread it. It took me 1 month. I reread it again. So I said, I need to it's a also great point to fast forward methods of situations.
So what I want to kind of emerge later about that whole, I think that needed work has to do with this method because the difference when I looked at the publications, you know, from the 1990s, there is a very clear difference in how the questions are put there. So the academic research is usually wants to fill the gap of knowledge, like, and that would be considered a contribution to science. Like, we need to read the literature and then say, those people wrote that and that and that, but then there is this whole, and that's where I want to contribute. While the research of, let's say, the kind of you practice with your colleagues, I think has more like an open-ended question, which is not where is the gap, but it is like, how do people preserve the knowledge, for example? And then we go in a descriptive manner to explore all those methods, and then develop the new forms out of this existing forms as an artist. So this is a kind of an interesting thing. So I just want to go back to say that, you know, the singularity of the methods of the amateur historians or the people who are developing their methods themselves, they are very demanding. They're very related to artistic methods. And this is a great point of meeting between an artist and the people who are working on it.
That's very great observation. Thank you. Yes. I love it.
So
please speak here.
Maybe it's good moment to open for the questions.
I wonder if it should be like this, or I have one more speaker afterwards.
Okay.
My dear friends, what to do since forever about this whole project. We went together with Mountain. We saw the stars and whatever. We were suffering, buying the books. More or less all the books are bound with Mia, and all the visual content was taught by her, and many thoughts were discussed between us, and I want to kind of my artistic approach. I think we have quite similar. I don't want to like talk too much myself about the specific art world and what's going on and why I feel so alienated somehow from reality. I don't know. Maybe you can just go through it very. Okay, I was on the shoes. Sorry. Yeah.
It's your part.
Actually, Roland's group is on the speaker wanted to make a speech. But it was too late, and I just wrote it this morning in the way my way here. So I'm going to read from my phone. I'm sorry for this. Okay. It's not too long. I haven't read it after I wrote it. So.
It's great. This is the way I work as well.
This is sincere. I had this friend who studied at the university, and every time she hears something about art schools, she gets this face that shows ignorance, table, and a little bit of judgment. Sometimes it irritates me, and I start to find myself in my art school fellows telling her about political engagement, how we can raise our voices through art, creating a perspective, making change, and she keeps looking at me in the same way. At some point, I realize that deep down, I sympathize with this soul. It has a similar nature to my anger and disgust towards, for example, last year, Venus Arcanale, where, what happened to me. We called foreigners everywhere, and it was dedicated to marginalized identities, queer, outsider, and indigenous artists. After going to the Biennale, I shared my thoughts with a friend, and she sent me an article by T. Kisik in her perspective. I don't know how to admit that I'm gonna cite yeah, and also, I decided how to make an article by cisgender white man from Spain. But somehow I feel like I just found the right words to express what I was thinking about. Celebrations of identity. Celebrations of identity made in such different traditional styles are progressive concept, but it's relatively form. They offer a little moment of cultural appropriation by time to the tone, to the scenes and emissions of the past, with a series of art-historical institutions. Canonical art remade by artists since minority days. The extent to which the artwork is taken out is raises another question. Where is the was confidential, less founded exhibition, and the particular undefined regional voices, other forces still marginalized? We speak in the cultural mainstream, backed by institutional authority. The project of century previously excluded has been concluded. It's no longer needed to be used in for origin, and has by now been hollowed out into a trope. These voices have lost their own unique qualities. In war with foreigners everywhere, differences have flattered, and all forms of oppression have blended into one universal community. We are bombarded with identities until they become meaningless. When everyone stows together into the big cell of marginalization, other messages will panel and absent. Now, right here. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we shouldn't give space to marginalized identities to speak out. What I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to point out is the danger of generalizing and abstracting those voices, or using them as a marketing tool, or hiding behind them, while the good old-fashioned art world hierarchy keeps operating. And here comes some great examples of this work. Besides, and they call examples also. Besides being personal and honest, it is very concrete and urgent. I had the privilege of observing the fieldwork in Villa. It all felt like being in a video game. Early in the morning, we woke up to Vida's father, this legendary person, is also here. We both separate, as mentioned. Tori would be someone who would guide us through the day and make sure we won't waste a second. 15 minutes for breakfast, which were my favorite recipe and most delicious breadsticks life, and straight work. We head out to the city, pay a visit to a guy at the post office who would, after some 30 minutes of talking, which I wouldn't understand, all the time my attempts to keep a notebook with some basic things. So the guy would give us an address be more precise, I will just point here. I don't know the village and the building and be like, I know there's a person who's there, and I think they should know someone who knew a father of your great father. And we would go there, and we would walk, and there we would meet someone else, and we would talk to them with your voice recorder on, or sometimes with notes. Even without understanding the language, I could see in both sides were interested in this conversation. And that's something I thought that you could also notice today looking at the outcome of this huge war. It's not just an artwork trying to spotlight an isolated village cultural and historical heritage. Neither is an exclusively personal storytelling piece places the figure of an artist and their relationship to the subject at the center of the story. For me, it is the living structure born out of curiosity, a sense of belonging, a willingness to help, and an openness to cooperate. A structure that isn't confined to this room, that is a million times bigger than this room. A structure that involves many other people almost contributing to and benefiting from this from it. And which brings to life this exhibition accessible to quite anybody who is curious, have a speaker, curious, have a look. Fascinating, dive in, and reflecting the great design and digital skills. And which doesn't require justification to people like this kind of mind for studying medicine.
And also, I don't want to gap the book, that's why I invited other people to talk a bit. We'll go straight to questions after my last bit of speech. I, on purpose, don't mention too much related to my personal poetry and identity or whatever. You can see it on the smallest screen size I could find in the whole room, under the stone, over there on the table. And also inside of my master thesis book, I wrote about my personal journey and connection with how while walking and asking some random things, or was there like this person 50 years ago, or going to the archive, or I don't know, going through this imperial censuses, I slowly was trying to reconnect with some of the emotional ties. This let's leave it behind. You can read it, you can, in my brother's time, I'm really against being too sentimental, but I think you can see it in my work. Also, the methods I use and the ways I present. I would like to have people spot people, but I will try my best to have a little guided tour explaining parts of this project. And I would love to say thank you to more than 40 people. Helping this project is just amazing. Collaboration and friendship. Thank you for this story. And that for that I'll leave and continue making projects. Yeah, thank you. And please, if you have questions, go ahead. I feel like I'm very shallow with my explanation. If there is no questions,
Maybe tell a bit of where this place is, what is the history of national.
You can also see those things inside of the system. There's some picture of the village. This was so the Nilufer is a village on the border in Russia, on Caucasus Mountains, isolated from humans until 2006 or so, elevated to 2,500 meters. and it's been very hard to reach there like anyhow, and plus the wall also gets broken. And these mountains are very densely different, smaller folds, so the neighboring mountains already have different folds, different language, different scripts, and so on and so forth. It's been a subject of territorial games of the empires, so once the Russian Empire and the South of Power, then I think like some Turkish Pokemon Arabic, all distributed in these places. But since it's so remote and it doesn't have some goal or whatever, then it was just left alone, so reserved pretty well. And my grandfather comes from this village, and I think he that well. He spoke also the special language that they have, which has nothing to do with any language around it, or the language has like a separate branch of the language. It has been though quite an interest of local linguists. So there has been several authors introduced, and about 13 years have been like basic database alphabet for the. And apart from that, since 2012, there has been archaeological excavations happening in the village that revealed a bunch of crazy stuff, because the village is kind of on the way from like a Silk Road or like another trading place. So the merchants would pass by, or the warriors or whatever, they would drop that stuff. And nowadays you can discover everything, like, I don't know, like a carving that originates in China, or Roman legion soldiers, like color, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, it's a very useful place. It's very small. A lot of people live there, and I feel they're kind of at home because they don't like, hey, you're like, you have the surname, okay, no, we have this relative, like the guy wrote on paper the family tree that we somehow related to us. And the same guy is like also like a director of the reserve, like a ethnographic reserve of the village. He's like, yeah, hello, stuff. It's very nice. It's great. Yeah. I hope that explains it. I said it in person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just interjecting for a second. As a group,
Yes.
perhaps if the audience has, if there are a couple of questions, we love more questions.
Yes.
And then we go and have a conversation.
Yes.
Privately.
Yes.
Return here, perhaps then you do the tour.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay.
We'll do that. Yeah. Then.
Any questions for the at this point?
Go. Okay. Please.
Also about the language, so there is an language.
Yeah.
But what is the, I assume that there is, is it a Chinese?
They depends on also the duration, because as I said, it has been like a big dispute between like militaries and like first they would speak Russian. Nowadays the young folks speak English, and all of them speak Azerbaijan because they're like part of this bigger country. And generally it's like an international country, so majority of like sorts of minorities that they speak by default, like, for example, or their own local language, and as a
So connect to this and then
yeah.
in terms of the language, what I noticed, I mean, first of all, amazing, no? I mean, we have seen parts of it, the images, you're writing enormous. No. And I just told Dennis, I see the language. I hear about it or read about it, I've never heard it.
That's very true.
So I wonder, is there anywhere a recording of that language? Because I feel like I want to, it's almost a visual experience that
That's true. Because I'm a designer, that's the fault of me. The audio is there not a single audio mark in this whole place, actually. Apart from this thing, there you can hear some description of the archaeological findings. Yeah, of course, they are available here and there, the recordings. I think. And to be perfectly honest, I only included language as a topic because it's just weird not to include. Because this has been the most interesting thing for all the researchers before me. All the things we find on the internet, is people recommend, whatever. Like, there are many languages, and I really despise language as a topic of my work. I think everyone told me, you're right, I should have included that.
I think you should have, but
Yeah.
noticing.
I mean, for the curiosity, but this little book under the flow of language is behind you. It observes the language from the point of accessibility and design and stuff like this, and the imperial powers relating to it. Maybe because we are not artists, make myself but not me. There is no one
You can't speak it right now. You can be
my grandpa prohibited children to learn it was way better in the community, and they would use it as a secret language between like the grandfather and the sister. And also, rumor has it that the KGB was recruiting the young kids from the village so they can converse with them, set up urban life in this. But yeah,
Dan, sorry that I'm putting you in this discussion. Please don't.
no. My collaborator is up the mountain. They have problems with internet actually, so technically people call him. He was also supposed to come here and like talk about his experience. But yeah, we can't have that. But yes,
No, not everything, but a lot. So perhaps, I mean, I'm sure we have more to say in the private.
yes.
But perhaps one question, there was one question, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, my impression is my student for public to this video. So if it's the case of the engine, you could stand out.
Yes.
Most like my question is general, so I think about my future lab to hold your project research phase. To the project that they said and that way. And they I would still kind of focus the question coming out of the beginning. Not how to deal with this kind of established aesthetics or research based architects and how this work process, for example. Maybe take it, for example, and like what we need because there is always a danger of not becoming an archive fully, because we've seen also these type of works. And there is also another thing how to deal with, especially like when you have more personal, like you said, refer to a culture where in specific place, and territory, and geography, and physical processes. So how also not to become kind of ethnographic museum setting or image of both things. Also, what's been your process going through this, like the archive, integrated and has more or less exhibition and institutional space.
That's a great question. Thank you for it. Let's me just want to speak without the answer because it's a complicated one. I feel like I'm like more urge based, so I have an urge to use this for that, and then I do it. I feel like somehow all the part of the exhibition is like me kind of chewing the content that I got from the village or from the internet or whatever, and then like digesting it and like spitting out the result that has been somehow intermingled with my like visual like experience and the things that I gathered through years or whatever, and like I have some weird logic in my head. Okay, like if this is like this, then it should go slower. If this is like this, then it should go good. How I don't know. I'm just like really pushing myself. Like the best regulations come from the shower. You're really stressed, and then like you go in the shower, the answer comes in your head. Okay, do this. And that's how I do it. Honestly, I don't know. I never force myself to use one medium. I always try to jump around and do different things. It's very troublesome because it makes you use a lot of things and learn a lot of skills. But I think this method is the most honest one that I can answer. Yes.
Yeah, because it's all. First of all, super nice presentation. It's very wholesome, the whole thing, not just the presentation, which I also really like. It's very different from the typical colloquium. but also the whole exhibition, the whole project is very wholesome. I'm very happy to see this. And so I have a lot of questions and a few more comments as well, but we want to say. However, since this has been my comparison twice now in different directions, I also wanted to kind of like, I don't know, comment, and maybe also a little bit of a segue for you to comment even further on this research elephant in the room. First of all, first class dad joke, urge instead of research. Research. It's pretty cheesy. The research way is like it's kind of it's a little bit like tying these comments together on the research in general. First of all, I'm very much defending the idea that there is no such one thing as scientific research. It's really hard to grasp. It's almost like the like a negative shape or something of what we see as scientific or traditional research or whatever. So I think I can't speak for the whole institution here, but I really find it interesting to see the artistic research trope as something that explores different ways, and also it's a bit liberated from like a canon, from like a stiff, rigid frame of methods and methodologies. However, you in your writing say that there is this method that you're using called homecoming. You call it homecoming, and I really like it. You give it a term because it makes it discussable, like an object to discuss. And as much as I appreciate that you have your own journey and somewhat came to terms with you being alien, being, displaced in a world, and made this like a journey for yourself, I feel that there's, and I know we're talking about this, I feel that there's like something that is generalizable as a method. It kind of deserves the term method in a traditional sense. And I would want to ask you to comment a little bit on this maybe. So what's non-personal, what's the non-personal thing about the homecoming method that you're using? What is there something that you would say, okay, let's make this let's see what other people would understand this notion of homecoming. So you know what I mean? So what's the knowledge? What's the thing you gain from this as a transfer?
I think. Okay, I feel like the question, I hear it, I kind of perceive it, but it's kind of like, but I don't know why, but I will try to answer. Petra had very solid ground, like you were kind of persuading me to use like some methods to define them, and I was also answering, I'm too deep inside of this project, I can't really understand what else I'm doing, either I can put it into words. The objectivity of the method of homecoming, I don't know, as a process, just merely as a process to get rid of all the sentiment or whatever. It's first of all this thing that we were discussing here with Mishra, which is like the research of the area, so to say, and using the, how to say, using kind of a decentralized knowledge sources and trying to tie them together, like a lot of kind of project management, like being a manager of everything, like manager of knowledge, manager of like also collaborators and contributors and also people, which is, I don't know if it's objective or something, but it has been a lot. And I was always constantly tying together things. Somehow, does it make sense?
Yeah, but probably like,
Yes.
just a quick follow-up for the whole discussion. But what's the artistic or designery? Let's talk about it. So what's that aspect of it, right? Because the way you describe it is basically just project management tasks or
I think we need to go to this notion of like being sick of this type of information and involving design to like a reality and the real world and bringing the aesthetics and the beauty that we have been very fond of as designers, as folks who go to school, not only with draw pixels, but those who read some philosophy or whatever. We're like establish our own idealistic vision of the world, not toss it all in the corporation, but rather to gifted to something that matters. It's not very objective, but I think you got the point.
I'm getting it up. Shall I just start the panic
Yes.
thing?
It's true. I'm trying to follow it somehow. It's
Yeah.
designed for the real world because what you learn in universities for years is so useful after all. Despite we think it's not, the job market is dead, and the business great.
I'd like to learn something just to complement that. There's a question. Isn't it this process of search for a sense of self? My question.
Sorry? I thought you were asking Dennis.
Complement of this.
Yeah.
But the question was for me, right?
What is this research? And I'm just wondering,
Dennis.
isn't this a search for a sense of self? Maybe where it comes from in this world of changing, ways to grow, I don't know, life. I just wonder, isn't this a part of this research process, this search for this actually get a sense of self in this, to locate yourself in this complex changing life, you know?
But that's like the personal part of the question. Like I think that's what really the most objective thing I can squeeze out of this method of homecoming. Like that's the most objective thing is like.
But then it's transferable. I wonder if isn't this transferable? That's my point would be, and what I'm
I mean, we're actually getting now to a really interesting spot, what was that, the elephant in the room? The research as or the term art research, artistic research should be something. I mean, I think in terms of transferability, I don't know, Nisha said something earlier on the method of thinking or event, if you like, and here certain multiple threats coming together almost like a magnetic choice. And it's a very idiosyncratic linear pragmatism that is occurring here with a very aesthetic, beautiful touch, There's a warm embrace of this type of income that there's the personal or the particular and the general, both sort of taking place in this mobility term homecoming did. So you made it bigger in that sense. But in fact, I think that's always could become a tricky moment. Okay, but you describe it in the text.
Yes, please read. I have very few copies.
I think it's interesting the whole homecoming. Yes, here are the things that are it's not so clear, but looks come to this. The one we talked but it's already I can tell there is an interesting friction in a positive sense that it's productive, that people it gets thinking in motion. It gets me, my thinking in motion. She's a whirlwind. This has been going on for months, kind of stepping along with her, kind of falling back, trying to figure out what's going on here. I'm like, great, we're here at this point, So, in that sense, congratulations, beautiful, already what Lynn said, a very beautiful exhibition. But I mean, your audience is getting the edgy. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's take this cold break, maybe go on. I don't know. Take please about this books that I said take it. I should have put like a price tag or whatever. If someone really wants it, you can ask me for purchasing. Otherwise, like please don't take it. Although yeah, I should have listened to Dennis and put like a little note, but I didn't. I think I'm sorry. I forgot. Yes, thank you. Let's say maybe at 5 and go around. Leave it 5.
So einen Kevin. Si no,
He's still there. You were the new one. He's the first one.
yes, la traducción. Şu an daha da olamadı. Oruçtan şu cumartesi'den oruç. But it's not now. I go now back home. He's like, and then I need a tax. I tell you how much. You want to go? What do you ask? You want to go? When I go like this, I usually go home. I'm going home. I need to know if now I want to go. I'm going to go out and it lasted they were still last also. I mean, you know, really but it's nice. You know what I will sit in the UK, there were only white people. We are fighting these two white male figures. So that's what we're fighting. You come in and behave like this. Oh no, I you know what you're going to find in place. But it was turned on. He into it because I was like, I literally raised my voice. You know, like, and I saw what's like Let's go.
Oh my
Everyone's jumping now.
Let's make it work. Let's make it work, people. Hey, everyone. Hello, let's make it work. Okay, let's start here. I forgot. Take my visual break like that. Yes. Yes, sir. I extended the preview just like 3 levels, and we went to archives and we checked around. Before me, no one was really invested in discovering creative supplies that this happened. Yes.
And my father also never say about
And then talk to them.
what I'm there. I also
Before we do the
yeah, obviously.
You just rolled it on paper and opened the scanners and then ready for that, of Mexico information. It's a very.
Where's you?
I don't go all the way down to me, but somehow it is. But to show kind of related object is this board here. You can see on the board they are made in gray. And the top, the board is 8 years old, and it started to be my name, named my dad, grandfather, great grandfather, engraver, and engraver goes to the end. Here I include my dad's writing about the project. I said I'm not going to translate it. It's very funny. He mentions inside how people are watching TikTok nowadays. They're not able to alert the president, so it's very necessary nowadays to go towards the roots. And he's describing the first exhibition we had. First time we went to the village together, also with like people from Brazil, from Germany, and showed around how excited he was. That because before he wasn't invested too much in the process, but for him it was also revelation. Of course, and big connecting point between my father and I, not just like everyday stuff, do you wear your hat, do you have that money, whatever, but also like some ability printing. Also, my dad's a researcher, he is like very helpful with things, so he knows a lot, and he's very precise guys, and like cut things, and like he's also very organized, so he wake us up very early, and he's like a co-project manager. And his impressions, you can read it by simply using the translate thing or finding someone who speaks language. I think it should also keep this information. You know, it's like it's none of this exhibition is really pointing to that. Okay, this is that. It's a little bit advanced. Inside of this little container, you can smell the village. I brought some aromatics from it, and you can just involve yourself in this little one-on-one experience. There are too many people now that will do it now. These are the books already, as I've discussed, together with Nisha. And this is the version of the book I did, and this is the version that my friend Julia did to find out more of the stuff. And we had some discussion which word is kind of more appropriate. I said, you know what, I'm going to do both. Please take it chill, you can take every book and start to read it. This thing is, I put like some sort of like a closed call to friends and collaborators to make something associated with the village. And dear friend Oliver, together with brother, has developed this virtual experience based on Google Maps. But also, you can walk the village. There's totally substance, so you can shake it. I think it's a comical effect of this shaking. So, when you go to the village, there is even a website you should be able also to print the cards because it has to be a postcard. The colors going around the class. Let's make ceramics, then let's make website, but not to print the cards. Okay, you do you. And I think the result is great. Please involve yourself. This thank you over for your work. When I was getting to know the residents, they suddenly said, okay, if you want to come tomorrow, we're going to make an excavation of some Roman grave. I said, yes, I'll be there. So basically together they drank 5-6 keys, and 5 hours passed, and they just started eating very slowly. So I didn't have time to actually see the actual like graveyard and bodies because people were taking their time. But at the meantime, while they were digging through the soil, they found just little things, 1, 2, and 2 little beads. And they danced. Sure, I'll take it. I took this, I don't know how many thousand years, more than 2,000 years old tooth, and this beads with me. I was thinking, how short? I said, okay, I have an idea, and I put it with the soul frame on a small plate. It's kind of obscure object, but this word is obscure, so I think it's matches well with the words. Over here, my collaborator, we put in some of the kind of Ammonite and like Semite so that's one of his collection. And here, there's a book that contains all the ordinance of findings that I did. You can see the website. And if you just go through them, there's this description made by the villagers. Also, once again, binding the work by Nilufer. Yes. Over here, you can see a website that initially I tried to involve myself a little bit for geometry. It wasn't easy, but right there, up there, you can see the 3D model of the archaeological object and read descriptions and listen to them. So far, the readers were very shy. They didn't really involve like a big, nice story because I wasn't there to record. So I recorded them all and then I deleted all the recordings. So I like not fast. But I would like to say a great thanks to my friend Sasha Ronina and to my friend Sebastian for developing this beautiful website. I couldn't do without you guys. Oh no! Here, and here we can read a little bit about the magic grave, about the village. And over there, a small, yes, over there in the small carpet, you can see that the same things that are from this website, but yes. it's the same thing, you can take this page as well. It's like a little booklet that you can open and it becomes a poster. This, you know what it is? Here, that's the most weakness. So we stayed over at a place of family that didn't have a father. The father actually died. He fell off a mountain, and his daughter was like roaming around trying to find some help and intense. But the father himself was like, I'm a researcher, and that's a lot of these information about archaeological findings before even the excavations happened. So I worked with this artifact with the help of my mom. Thank you very much. We were able to decipher what was writing, and they're all included in this smaller sections, and they're embedded inside of the book in the language, the keynote language that is telling about the fields of the village. And I want to just show the fragility of human life and the research that just you fall from a mountain, that's it. And we know the kids, they can't even read his writings because he wrote it scribbling. The kids are talking Latin, so the consequences, script constantly changing. So yeah, I just wanted to show the way how fragile it is. So I also try to do little engravings on the sleeves and let them slowly deteriorate while it was look through the book. Feel free to check. Here are results of me asking my friend, oh, hey, can you please do something for my project? Because when I was in the village, I went to the post office, and the post office worker complained that there is not a single postcard that shows the view from the village or anything. So people are probably sent like Happy 8th of March poster or Happy New Year to their relatives because there's not a single postcard. So I asked a bunch of friends, many friends were busy or they burned out or whatever, but the survivors, they did a great job. There are stamps here and several postcards. And here, the friend is still working from this. We're developing a poster for the alphabet. It's like this little funny illustration. I also have a bunch of copies of this poster if you wish to purchase one at see. Yes. Over here is the kind of like last section of the project. Here I said it's going to be funny to put the book under the pillow because when you sleep on a pillow and the book is under, you kind of learn the material that you're supposed to learn for exam tomorrow. So I made a stick pillow of language, trying to kind of avoid this necessity to work with language. And here there is a book that was made in collage, consisting many different scientific papers about language. And basically, I get in the end, I'm discussing how a small language can get more accessible, what are means to reach this. And there are several interviews. The first one is like a type country based in Azerbaijan. And the second one is a person who is working with like time foundry that is really focused around preserving like smaller languages. So this book is like a scattered album in a way. It's a little bit weird, I think, but still I might work this topic. My biggest interest is like to understand how to design and do something with the language, not really about all of this language. So I didn't spend one competition. And this, my dad and the village residents, they went together to kind of like get out of the city or from the village and find like tombstones. And they made a different touch, like compact print, several tombs, documenting the only written evidences of the language before the script came. Because until like 1930s, 40s, there was no need to use script because there was just no knowledge, preserved all the knowledge orally, except maybe like the linguist texts. Yeah, and here you can see one little ranted about the project, my book, that we made everything from scratch together with my friends, suffered a lot to make this. And the doubles is a poster, like it's the same picture of the poster. This is my dad and this is Dunya. They're mountain and I took a picture. It's very, how to say, the design is very, whatever, on point. But here I write my motivation to even make this project. You can, if you really want to buy this book, there are very few copies. Just let me know how it looks. Yes, that's super quick tour. And over here, I forgot the last thing, the table. Underneath, like on the table, there's a stone with a picture of my grandfather, father, and sisters. And under that, I think very small line. Oh, something on. Now you spend 5 minutes trying to say. So yeah. Thank you. People start now. It's like recorded stuff.
I was like, oh my gosh,
You know what Nelly is? Nice.